welcome back to My Perspective. I'm your host, Shelby Wright, if you're new here. If you are new here, let me explain a little bit about what My Perspective is. This is a podcast where I share all my perspectives. I would say that I'm a bit of a health and wellness junkie, but I'm also a girl who's just in her 20s, early 20s, and I recently graduated college. I have a 1.5-year-old dog. I'm in a long-distance relationship, and I'm currently navigating finding new friends in where I live, a new job, finding possibly another job, also pursuing stuff that I actually enjoy, such as this podcast and, maintaining and building relationships and taking care of myself. That all, I think, encompasses what I believe health and wellness to be. I apologize for not recording the past 2 weeks. My mic broke and I had to buy a new wire. So I have quite a few updates for you all because it's been a minute. First of all, I don't know where I left off, but in the past couple weeks I've graduated. I've moved down to Orange County and I've started my internship. Actually, I live right next to a really busy street, so there's nothing I can do about it. I've tried everything to block the noise. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to survive. It's not that bad, I promise. But in case you ever wonder, let me just tell you a little bit about my updates that actually matter. First of all, living alone, best thing in the freaking world. I'm not going to get lonely. I don't understand the people who get lonely about living alone. It's so nice. You come home from work and you just de-stress. Actually, I have my dog waiting home for me, so maybe that's why it's not that bad. He's just sleeping right now, so it's not that big of a difference. Next, my internship. It's going really well. I thought I was freaking out a bit about how I'm going to balance everything, but I'm allowed to go in as early as I want. So I can go as early as 6 and leave at 2:30. Then I have a whole freaking day ahead of me. It's as if I'm working at a coffee shop. A little bit about this podcast. I always give updates and I do some sort of an intro. So this week we're going to do my obsession of the week and something I'm working on. I didn't love the likes and dislikes of the week because I want to keep it positive, but obviously I keep it real and I tell you when something's going to crap and I'm not going to just pretend my life is perfect. And I guess, my something I'm working on is supposed to be a positive way to spin something that's not going well, my dislike of the week. So first of all, my obsession of the week has been Pilates. I've been doing ClassPass like no freaking other. I got the most expensive package of credits. By the way, Kaiser gives you 20% off on ClassPass. So I got that deal because I love a steal. And I've been going to Pilates pretty much almost every day. And this was because the spin classes only let you do one free spin class. The Pilates studios are more lenient. So once my membership of the free trial ends, then I'm going to continue cycle syncing with my movement. But Pilates is low impact, so it's not like I'm running when I wasn't supposed to. Next is something I'm working on. I've been in my place for about 2 weeks and it's giving me anxiety. I am focusing on decluttering my space because I live in a 600 square foot studio, which means I don't have a lot of storage and I got a lot of stuff for a very small place. Mainly because I'm in the process of selling my coffee table and also in the process of my parents taking a part of my couch because it's massive. Meaning it looks a lot more cluttered to me than it should be just because though these pieces of furniture are huge and I'm just waiting for them to be taken out and I can actually decorate. I have nothing hung up on the walls. I don't have my curtains up. So it's kind of not my vibe yet. I wanted to keep this intro pretty short because I have a lot to say. And yes, I haven't talked to you all in a while, but I know once I get in the groove of things, my updates are going to come every single week. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about lessons I have learned in college / just this past 6 months of the year. This is what I originally recorded 2 weeks ago, and I recorded for a whole hour. I go to edit my podcast, and because the wire was broken without me knowing, it was muted the whole time. Or just didn't record. And then that happened another time. So I was like, okay, I just need to go buy a new one. And that's why I've been MIA the past 2 weeks. But My goal for this podcast is I usually try to post 3 times a month. Something usually happens once a month where I didn't get an episode out. But that is just a rundown if you've never listened to my podcast before, and that I found invaluable to my experience. First off, a person can have good qualities, but be a better friend for someone else. This is something that you need self-awareness, emotional maturity, and so many other qualities you need to be able to understand this concept. I think with all the friendships I've had in my life, I've come to realize this through the friendships that I have had since elementary school that are still going strong, that we are each other's sisters at this point. But then I've also had a lot of friendships I don't talk to anymore. I've been not friends with people even when I was in elementary school. Like, I would hang out with them for a couple years and then I just stopped and I found new friends. And that's kind of the evolution of friendships. When you think of a person who you're not friends with anymore, it's really easy to tear them apart of why they're such a bad friend, why you guys didn't work, and blame everything on them. But I think one friend can possess so many amazing qualities. This is why you were friends with them in the first place. But you have to understand when you stop being friends with them that maybe they just weren't a good friend for you. Not to you, just maybe to you too, but you guys just didn't match that well. Throughout this journey that we have throughout relationships, we're going to meet and encounter so many different people in our lives, especially in your 20s. Your 20s is when you're going to make and lose the most friendships in your life, because we go to college and then you're not being friends with people out of convenience anymore in high school because you saw people in high school every single day. Okay, then you guys go off to different colleges. It's not convenient anymore. You actually have to go out of your way to be friends. Maybe your freshman year, you're in the dorms, so it is sort of convenient. You're friends with people on your same floor, but then let's say sophomore year, you move out of the dorms and then you actually have to make an effort to stay friends with those people from your dorms, and you have to kind of recheck and reevaluate, why are you friends with them? Did they actually value anything to you, or were you just friends with them because they lived across the hall? So not only do our friendships change in that phase of our life, but then post-college, a lot of your friends are going to move to different cities for their job, or even post-college, people are starting to get engaged, have kids, or maybe even just completely go feral because maybe they're in a relationship all of college and now they're single. So now they're in their party girl era, and when you were in your frat era, now you're in your marriage era. So there's a lot that goes into why your 20s is such a different transformational journey of friendships, because it's this stage of life where there's so many different phases you can be in, and they're all acceptable. Not one of them is unacceptable, because if you're married at 25, that's normal. But if you're single at 25, that's also normal. I think this is why friendships will come and go so much, and that's just something we have to accept, and it's nothing bad on one person or that person. But also, we're going to meet so many people who have different perspectives and strengths, characteristics that bring and don't bring to our lives. It's essential that you can look at a person, look at a friend, and be able to acknowledge the positive qualities that they possess. Okay, so when I think of a past friendship I've had, sometimes I'm thinking of a particular friendship that I've had in person. And for a moment, yes, I was angry and bitter, didn't think positively for a moment of this person. But then I took a moment, I gave myself time to feel my feelings. And when I reevaluate the situation and I think of this person now, I can come up with qualities of why I was this person's friend, why I could honestly stay friends with them if we were still friends, and what they brought to my life. I don't know, whatever it is that you want from your friends. It doesn't have to be anything serious. It could have just been, oh, I always have fun with this friend when we hang out, or they're really fun. They like to do this activity with me, or they're really good at opening me up and we have these deep talks. So when I think of this one particular friend, when I look back on her, I think, oh my goodness, she loved to explore and we did so many fun activities together. We did have some things in common, but that is what she brought to our friendship. And I think when you think of a person like that, it humanizes them. You don't want to make them a villain in your story. What's the point? You're not friends anymore. What is that going to benefit you from just creating this bad energy? So not only are you evaluating this person and seeing their positive qualities, but it's also super important to see, are they a good friend for you and fit? Because yes, this person has these amazing qualities, but that doesn't mean you're both good for each other. And that's fine. I don't understand why it's a much big deal to stop being friends with somebody, but if you're going out, let's say you're dating a guy and within 3 months you realize he has some red flags and you just stop the relationship, it's not going to go any further. That's normal. But if you're friends with a girl, you guys have been hanging out for 3 months and you realize, oh, I don't really want to be her friend because of XYZ, it's a bigger deal of why you're not friends anymore. We can't treat it the same as romantic relationships, even though friendships and romantic relationships are very similar. I don't think they should be treated exactly the same in priority-wise, but I think in that sense of evaluating whether or not you're good for each other, it should be treated similar. Another thing is a friendship dynamic is always evolving. Me and Brooke have been friends since 3rd grade. We don't have the same friendship as in 3rd grade. I mean, I would hope not. We would just play hide and seek all day, and I would get lost in her under closet of her stairs. But basically what I'm saying is you're not trying to find the perfect friend who you don't have like a list on your phone where they're checking off every single box. Maybe they check off 5 of the 8 boxes, okay? Like I said about this, having friends for different things. Maybe it's a friend you like to go out with and then a friend there you like to work out with. You have a friend who you get really deep with. You have a hometown friend. You don't need to have one best friend. You also don't need a friend who possesses everything. You could just hang out with them when you want to do that thing or when you need this type of conversation. It's also about finding someone who understands and accepts you for as you are and wants to learn and grow with you and build that deep mutual respect relationship. Because if they have a list of, oh, you need to do these 10 things in order to be my friend, that's a bit excessive. I think that needs to be more towards the romantic relationship, I guess, but that's just not realistic. I had a friendship where we just both had 2 different expectations of what it meant to be friends. And in that instance, I would say it's okay to make a list of what you need in a friendship and then look at that list and decide what is your non-negotiable. So say your non-negotiable is this friend has to have really deep, intimate conversations with you that are vulnerable and opening up. And if your friend isn't able to give you that, then you can't be friends. Maybe that's your non-negotiable. Then you have to evaluate the friendship on where does it go from there. But I don't think you can have 10 plus things that they have to meet every single requirement, because maybe their expectation in the friendship is different, or they just don't have the energy and capacity to give you that, even if they wanted to. People just got stuff going on in their lives. So in general, it's extremely important to just surround yourself with people who uplift you and inspire and honestly challenge you to become a better version of yourself. If you're in a room with 5 people, you want these 5 people to be better than you, because then you will. So that is why it's so important to surround yourself with people who you wouldn't mind becoming. Sometimes, despite the positive characteristics that a friend can have, they won't always align with your value and interests or goals that you want to get in life. And that's why it's okay to acknowledge that they are a better friend for someone else. Or say you had a friendship breakup and you're super confused on why are all these other people friends with her? And I don't understand she was a terrible friend. How do they not see it? And sometimes you have to take a step back and realize maybe she's a really good friend for them. Maybe they are just super compatible and I just wasn't. And she adds X amount of value to their life and honestly probably acts different in a better way that they need. And I didn't need that. And that's something you have to realize. You have to let go of this guilt or pressure to maintain a friendship that's not fulfilling or supportive to what you need. You have to prioritize what they're actually going to succeed as a person with those other people. And I also want to mention again that friendships aren't meant to last forever. People change and evolve and grow in all different directions of life. Honestly, natural for friendships to ebb and flow throughout life. My closest friendships, I can go a month, 2 months, 6 months without talking to them, and I know we're just as close as we were that 6 months prior. Obviously, I tried to not do that, but sometimes my life just gets chaotic and I don't have the energy to fill up anyone else's cup at the moment. I think embracing all of this is the reality of friendships that are long-term and that will serve both parties without harboring any resentment or guilt towards them. So by understanding that this friend you used to be friends with and who's not your friend anymore, it's okay to realize that you're opening up yourself to the possibility of so many other experiences in life. Honoring what you need and making choices that align with what you perceive to be your authentic self. I try to surround myself with people who genuinely understand me, support me in everything I do, get excited for me, and uplift me. I also have to remind myself that I'm not trying to find this perfect friend in Orange County because I'm in the friend hunt at the moment. I'm trying to meet people. Or second lesson I learned can also go with not the friendship breakup sort of talk. Or maybe it applies to something that happened at work or just honestly your day-to-day life. Forgive yourself for doing your best with what you knew at that moment. Maybe you yelled at someone. Maybe you committed a crime. I don't know. Like for me, sometimes I get mom guilt for leaving Miso at home. Or I took him to training classes, but I didn't train him a ton just on my own time. When I think about this, I realize that we often tend to be our harshest critics. And when we look back on things that we've done and that we would change differently now, I criticize myself and I'm really, really mean to myself, actually. I have this evil villain type of voice in my head that's always criticizing myself. I have to remind myself that I'm constantly evolving and learning. If that situation were to happen again, I probably would have handled it differently. And that's a hard thing to swallow because I can't go back and change what happened. I've had to learn to forgive myself. Honestly, let things go. If I knew what I knew now with the knowledge and resources, I would make a different choice. And I think that's the most important thing. It's about embracing self-compassion and allow you to move beyond these past mistakes so that you can heal and let yourself continue to grow instead of stressing out about something you can't change. In college and just in life, you're going to face that's going to shape who you are. And I would try not to regret those moments because that is why you are resilient. That is why you have grit. It's so easy for me to get stuck in the mindset of, I wish I didn't do that. That sucks. Why did I do that? I suck. Whatever, the list goes on. And when I question why I did something at that moment, I have to remember that I'm not the same person as I was back then. If that happened again, I'm saying this over and over, but I wouldn't make that choice again. And I wish I could not strangle, but shake my older self and be like, wake up. It doesn't matter. Don't get upset over that. That is not something to argue about. That's not something to fill in the blank. Where we are acquiring so much knowledge and wisdom through these experiences of life. And if that situation didn't necessarily happen, you might not be the same person you are. You wouldn't be able to have this type of self-compassion towards other people or street knowledge and just experience, I guess, when only time can bring you that. Every decision you make is either going to lead to success or failure. Failure. You know what I mean. When you forgive yourself, you're creating a space for personal growth and allow yourself to honestly just move through life lighter. I've made some choices where it's been years at this point, and I'm in bed laying there replaying the scenario over and over in my head of what I would do differently. I think that honestly weighs with me, and it's a burden on my shoulders, and I walk through life carrying it with me. And if I were just forgive myself, maybe I could walk through life a little bit lighter, a little bit more with compassion towards other people because I have more compassion towards myself. But then I also think about it when someone has done something wrong towards me and I forgive them. I don't just go 2 years still being their friend or girlfriend and think about that thing they did to me that sucked. I forgave them for that. So why can't I do the same for myself? Making mistakes is inherent. It's a part of being a human, and it gives us that time for self-reflection. It's opening the door for self-acceptance and self-love. Honestly, let you live an authentic life. Remember, you did the best you could with the information you had at the moment. Allow yourself to move forward and create a future that aligns with your truest self, not your old self. Lesson 3. This one weighs on me. Everyone has struggles that you're not intended to see. This is another saying for everyone's dealing with something, or you can't always see what someone's struggling with. And the reason why I worded it like this is because sometimes people's struggles you're not intended to see because they don't want you to see it. They put on a face, or they have a chronic illness that is not physically visible, and you're not supposed to see it, but that doesn't mean they're not struggling with it. Also has to do with mental health. And this weighs heavy on me because everything that I struggle with is not visible. And I've had a hard time believing it's real because it's not visible, or getting invalidated from doctors or peers because it isn't visible too. And it's easy to make assumptions about others based on what we can see on the surface. I think that's why I've been invalidated so many times and don't want to talk about it anymore, because we think that this person has it all together and that they live this luxurious, friend-filled life where everything looks perfect. And then you talk to them and realize that reality is really far from it. Every person we encounter, friend, roommate, classmate, we all carry our own burdens and challenges and insecurities. I have yet to meet a perfect person with a perfect life. My boyfriend comes pretty dang close, but he's not perfect, obviously. Throughout these past few years, I began to realize that everyone is dealing with something we have no idea about. Maybe they have an assumption, or maybe they honestly thought our lives were perfect. Behind the perfect smiles and the perfect Instagrams and the aesthetic bedrooms, you really never know what someone's going through. I've made a TikTok once of all the Instagram posts that I've posted when I was actually at my worst. Did everyone know? Obviously not, but you don't realize what someone is going through. It can be financial problems, mental health, chronic illnesses, relationship issues. It can be anything. And this can really be impacting somebody's life. Another thing I learned, on a side note, is sometimes I judge people and I'm like, I've gone through that. Why is that a big deal? Like, that's not a big deal. When I put myself in their shoes, everyone has a different baseline of stressors, and maybe my baseline of stress is higher than somebody else's. So if we go through the same things, I might handle it better than they would because their baseline of stress is lower than mine. And you have to give that person empathy, because to them it's a very much real and it's very much that big of a problem. You have to develop empathy for yourself and for other people beyond the surface level question of how is the weather, how is your day, how are you doing. Sometimes a simple act of kindness will just be the cherry on top of someone's day. Telling them you like their shirt, telling them to have a good day, that you like their hair, that was a really good question. You really never know what someone is struggling with because they probably don't want to talk about it. If you're just giving them that space of comfort or a listening ear, maybe they'll be able to open up. The last lesson I've learned and continually learning. College is a place where societal standards and pressures and expectations are so important to some people. When I went into college, I had this expectation of walking around campus and realizing, whoa, all these girls are so thin. Granted, only partial of the freshmen were on campus my freshman year, but still, that was something I noticed. Everybody went to the rec to work out. It's just a Cal Poly thing. And I would say that if I was single, it'd probably be way worse because I would probably attach what I looked like to the attention I would get from males. Thankfully, I had a boyfriend who's loved me no matter what I've looked like. College is a transformational years, and this is a hard thing for me to grasp, of having enough mental toughness to not fall into the traps of dieting or fad diets, your friends talking about what they don't like about themselves, or engaging in unhealthy habits because this person's doing it, or you saw this on TV, or you want to lose weight and someone said that works. Your worth extends far beyond your physical attributes. One of the quotes I used to love is, your weight, what you look like, is the least interesting thing about you. My best friend Brooke is beyond gorgeous. I mean, she always says, I think guys like me for my personality. They don't like me for my looks. And I have to remind her, Brooke, you're freaking stunning. Your personality is insane. I wish I could have your personality. But also your looks are actually insane. So a part of me is trying to remind her that she's pretty. But also, she knows that her value is in her personality. It's not in what she looks like, even though she's gorgeous. Your value shouldn't be defined by the size of your waist. It shouldn't be how small your nose is, or how big your eyes is, or how tall or thin you are. That is so boring. And also, you're not going to have that for the rest of your life, because these standards that the world has, they're unattainable. Your true value lies in all your unique qualities, your personality, your character, who you are becoming. I have witnessed and experienced what happens with negative self-talk and the harm it can inflict on somebody. Not only have I torn myself apart about what I've looked like or what I do or don't have, but I've also stood there watching my friends get ready in the mirror, picking themselves apart, telling themselves that they need to lose weight, that they're ugly, that doesn't look good on them, their hair is falling out, whatever it is. And I'm watching their mind be the bully of what they look like, comparing themselves to others or feeding into the cycle of self-doubt. And this is why I don't like having mirrors in my place, because I do the same thing, and it's hard to watch it from an outside perspective, because when you do it to yourself, you don't recognize it as quickly. I have so many tips and tricks on having a better relationship with your body, but I still don't have a good relationship with my body. Eventually, I hope I will, and I hope all these tips and tricks help one day, but I'm just here to tell you, don't do it. It's not worth it. You are worthy of love and respect. Your body carries you through so much in your life, and it deserves the best. You only get one body. When you stop hanging out with people who only value your body, or you stop giving yourselves to men who don't care about you, that only want you for your body, only care about you for how big your boobs are, or your butt, or if you're skinny. Somebody told me that this guy's type was thin women. Literally, he told her he likes only thin girls. I mean, he wasn't talking to me. I have a boyfriend. You only like thin women. Honestly, say if I was dating this guy and I heard that, I would do everything I could to stay thin. Selena Gomez has made a statement that Justin Bieber said he likes thin women, and she would work out twice a day to attain that beauty standard. And if my boyfriend told me that, I would be even more self-conscious and try to appease him. That's just how my brain works. And I think that's so harmful because we shouldn't put that much value in what we look like. And it's not our fault because everybody else around us expects that. And when you start to surround yourself with people who value for your strengths and qualities as a person is when you'll start to think that about yourself. From this moment on, I've been trying to do this, is when I'm going to talk about a friend, and someone tells me about them, I'm not going to say anything about about their appearance. So let's say I've talked about Brooke a lot in this podcast. If someone's like, oh, tell me about your friend Brooke, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, she's the prettiest friend I have. She's stunning. She looks like this person. I'm going to say she's the funniest person I know. She's the best storyteller. I swear to God, she would go freaking viral on TikTok if she just told all her stories because she makes me laugh always. She is built so much resilience and has so much experience under her belt with people and relationships. And I am beyond proud of how much she has stood up for herself in these past couple of years. If I talk about people like that, then maybe I'll start talking about myself like that. So while you go through these years, I urge you to not let your mind bully your body because you are worthy, you're deserving of love, and you're capable of achieving anything. When you're practicing self-love and you're silencing that negative voice in your brain and you replace it with everything you love about yourself, you're going to thrive. Treat your body with kindness. Treat it as if you're treating a little kid. You nourish it. You let it sleep. You engage in activities that promote happiness. You are more than your physical appearance. You are radiant and you're capable of strength and growth and honestly anything you desire. And I hope you also let yourself embrace that journey in your life because you will glow way more than if you are doing anything to diminish your body. I can make a whole podcast about body image. I honestly should. Say you're doing XYZ to maintain this perfect body that you want. I need to listen to this myself. That is not the body you're meant to have. If you have to do all these things to keep this body, you're not meant to have it. Your body wants to feel safe. When you're nourishing it correctly, when you're giving it enjoyable movement, when you're loving it and you're surrounding yourself with happy people and you're letting yourself sleep and you're hydrated, that body is the body you're supposed to have, the body that will help you thrive and get you to where you want to go in life. Not the body where you punish it and you talk about it badly and you do all these things to it because you don't love it. You are a part of your body. Don't treat it as if it isn't. Those are the 4 things that I have really been teaching myself and learning throughout these past couple years. They were pretty deep, heavy topics that I could talk endlessly about. And I hope you guys can just listen to this with an open ear and really let yourself process it because it was a lot. And I'm not perfect. I'm still dealing with these things, but I've come a long way. 4 years ago, I couldn't even comprehend this. So I hope you all have a fantastic day. Treat yourself with something amazing. Podcasts from now on are going to be way more consistent. Follow My Perspective Pod on Instagram, Shelby on TikTok. I think that's all. Bye, guys.